The Bert Show. Spotlight on Mo.
People want to see you do well until you're doing better than them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Bert, Kristen, Mo, and Abby on The Bert Show.
I think everybody, once you engage in a relationship or you're thinking about quote-unquote settling down, you fear that you're going to lose your freedom, right? I think guys are probably hypersensitive to that. But how can you navigate through a relationship without totally being fearful of losing your freedom if you're a guy?
Yeah, guys, if you want your woman to leave you alone, there's one word I want you to meditate on. It's the one thing that deep down all women want, and that word is security. Mm-hmm. Deep down, all women want to do is feel safe and secure physically and emotionally in their relationships. And if you can provide that according to the Know Thyself podcast, women will become less clingy.
What's one thing that you feel like men really don't understand about women?
How much fear women are in all the time. Women live on this earth almost like prey animals. There's a constant vigilance and a constant sensation of unsafety in women. So the relationships that I notice that are the very most successful, that what the man is essentially doing as a second nature is consistently, constantly reassuring. So if men had that same attitude towards the women in their lives, believe me, they would have good relationships. And also, the women in their lives would tolerate more distance. It's the paradox effect in relationships. The stronger container and the stronger level of security and presence you can give a person a sensation of, the more tolerance for autonomy they have.
Which men also crave, that sense of freedom, of autonomy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like most people who want autonomy are like, I need to fight for my autonomy.
Right.
Oh, and by doing that, you're creating a stage 5 clinger.
It's like that as a man from seeing freedom as many options as you can on the platter of life versus depth of commitment and the freedom that comes from that.
It makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of obvious if you think about it. Like if you make somebody feel secure in a relationship, they're going to have more trust, and therefore you're going to have more freedom. If you make somebody feel insecure in a relationship, they're going to want to know where you are every day, every hour of every minute, and want to be by your side at all times for fear that you're going to do something untrustworthy.
100%, but it feels opposite. Like, oh, I have to give my woman more attention if I want freedom. But really, that's how it is. Just make her feel safe emotionally, and she's not going to constantly be texting you at 2 a.m. while you're out with the boys.
Our intern Haley wants in on this. Okay, go.
Yeah, so I'm in a long distance relationship, but there's so much security in the relationship that, he can go out to the club with his hockey team till 4 a.m. I can sleep sound as a baby. My friend who's also in a long distance relationship, she will text me, she'll be like, he's going out to the club tonight. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, tell him to have fun. I don't know what to tell you. Like, and she's like, but his roommate might bring a girl home. And I'm like, what does that have to do with him, though? Nothing. If it doesn't have anything to do with him, then it shouldn't.
You're wise beyond your years, woman.
Yeah.
Wise beyond your years.
Listen, I'm safe. I'm secure. I'm good.
Wow, must be nice. Rub it in a little more, Haley. I love my happy, healthy relationship with my hockey player boyfriend.
And you know what? He lives in Missouri, so I struggle a little bit. Right?
Yeah, you got to choose your struggle.
Yeah.
All right, today is Follow-Up Thursday. Sometimes we just have loose ends here, and you guys are like, I need to know. And this is the one where the one that got away was the ex-fiance, and she wanted to get back with him. You guys remember this one? Kristen?
So what happened back in December of 2021? After 2 years of dating, Mark proposed to Blaine. She was excited about their future together until she found out her parents were getting a divorce. Her views on marriage changed, and she started getting cold feet in her own relationship. She broke things off with Mark, but she never stopped thinking about him. She reached out to She reached out to us so we could reconnect her with Mark. He agreed to meet up with Blaine, and things went well. They went on back-to-back dates. But she was hesitant to go out with him again because she knew he was dating somebody else. After 5 years of not speaking, she expected him to ditch who he was dating for her. Well, we all said that she needed to treat this as a fresh start and see where things go. Are the two still seeing each other?
The update. After reconnecting with Mark and going out those few times, things didn't work out for us. I genuinely tried to be okay with the fact that he was dating someone else. But deep down, sharing someone I had such a history with wasn't my style. And I found it increasingly difficult. I really tried, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being insulted by the situation. The history we shared seemed too significant to be treated casually or in the way you'd handle a new situation. So I told him that if and when he found out himself totally single again, we could consider trying to rebuild what we once had. But we'd have to both be committed and trying and not casually. He continued dating that other person, and it ended several months later. He, of course, called me and wanted to give things a try. However, by then, I was already in my current relationship. I'm pretty happy right now and wasn't about to mess things up with someone so great when things seemed so uncertain with Mark. As far as I know, Mark is still single. Who knows what the future holds for either of us? However, I'm pretty happy and thinking things work out the way they do for a reason.
You can't even jumpstart. You can't even start a relationship unless the timing is right.
Yeah.
And here they're going back and forth. There's nothing here.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I always wonder why people stay in relationships where they're kind of like iffy about, somebody and what they're doing and the choices they're making, when just get out of the relationship, because there's probably somebody a better fit for you just around the corner. And I think this is the perfect example of that.
Y'all agree?
I feel the same exact way. I agree with Abby. I think people stay in things too long for whatever reason, and obviously the universe has led you to something better.
And I'm proud of her for she was in a newer relationship. She could have ditched that guy so quickly and gone back with Mark, but she's like, no, this is going well, and I'm not going to risk that. And she's holding her ground.
Intern Haley, get in there.
Yeah, I don't think the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I'm glad she didn't end things with the current guy for what could be with this old fling. I think the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and if she had gone back in that relationship, she would have been like, oh, crap, I gave up something good.
Yup. Intern Haley, while we're here, you can't walk into the studio with a Pickle Slut t-shirt on and not give us the history behind the shirt before we get into the meat of you breaking into your grandfather's car.
So it's funny because I'm quite the opposite of a pickle slut, really. I've been in a relationship for almost 2.5 years.
What is the opposite of a pickle slut?
Pickle prude.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
She's saving her pickles for marriage.
No, I hate pickles so much. It's my biggest fear.
Like you hate them, like you just detest the taste of them, or you actually have a legitimate fear?
I'm actually starting to feel anxious right now talking about it.
Can we trace back where your fear comes from?
Well, it was at Jesus camp, and all bad things come from Jesus camp. But my mom dropped me off at this camp because it was free. They just asked for donations. So I was being dropped off for a week away with my sleeping bag, a pound of ground beef as a donation, and a dream. And so
what was the dream?
So the dream was maybe I'll make friends. I don't know. I didn't have many friends when I was younger, but
I'm starting to put that together.
Wow. Anyway.
Welcome to the Bert Show.
Yeah. And yet you guys can't get enough of me. So.
Hey, you walked in here. We didn't invite you.
But there was like a little snack shack, and all of my friends got like a pickle on a stick from the snack area, in between meals. And I was like, man, I want to like pickles so bad. So I'm just going to force myself to like a pickle. So I get a pickle from the snack shack. I take one bite, and then I am dry heaving by the creek that we all swim in for the next hour. I'm just on my knees gagging, and it was such a terrible experience that I was like, I don't even want to look at another pickle ever again.
Ew.
If this isn't a life lesson for everybody listening, it's like, stop forcing yourself to be something you're not to make friends.
Yeah.
Be true to yourself. Be a pickle prude, not a pickle slut.
Is a food phobias a real thing? Like, I know there are some foods you don't like, but I mean, a legit phobia, like if I put a pickle right here, you would legit freak out.
I would look. I wouldn't be able to look in your direction. Honestly, I wouldn't.
Wow.
I am obsessed with the show The Challenge, and everybody knows Jemmy on The Challenge has a fear of ketchup.
A legit fear.
A legit fear.
Not,
and
I just don't like ketchup.
No.
I don't like the way it tastes. A fear of.
Her ex-boyfriend, he was drunk and he was being mean, and he squirted ketchup on her, and she lost her ass. Like, she was shaking and she was crying and she was freaking out. And she's like, you know how I feel about ketchup. It's like, it's a thing.
Pickles could be used as a weapon against me for sure.
If we want to put intern Haley like in a room full of pickles, I have a direct line.
Oh
my brother lives in Mount Olive, North Carolina, home of Mount Olive pickles. They brought me a big assortment pack for Christmas of pickles. I don't even like pickles.
God, the tentacles of his contacts.
You got a pickle plug.
But we can get, they make, I bet, 30 different kinds of pickles. And we can put them all around.
Tommy, I'm getting
Haley
hot
and see what
flashes
happens.
right now. This is not good.
Let's not traumatize the interns.
Yeah.
Is there anybody listening right now that also has a food phobia? Not something that you dislike, but if you see a piece of cauliflower, it freaks you out. Or a tomato, like you say. Like, it's more than not liking it. Like, I don't like goat cheese, but if it's in front of me, I'm not going to go, goat cheese, get out of here.
So, I mean, it is a phobia for all food, though. It's sebophobia. And then the fear of pickles specifically has a name as well. It's tubariphobia.
Tubari.
I need to learn that. Tubari phobia?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that people could be just legitimately fearful of a food.
I'm going to get that word tattooed on me.
Now you need a shirt that
Chattanooga.
says Tubari phobia slut.
Yeah, there we go.
If I had a phobia, it would be Goldschlager more than anything else.
Oh, that's understandable.
That one hurt quite a bit. Okay, so now let's move on.
Yes.
You stole your grandfather's car?
I did. So he lives up in Talking Rock, Georgia, little town, and he goes to Hawaii every year for like around Thanksgiving to the middle of January. So it's about 2 months that he's in Hawaii every year. He lives alone. He's, I make it a point to go see him once a week for dinner. And we had family come into town this past Christmas, and they wanted to take a little weekend trip up to Helen, Georgia for, if you don't know, it's like this little Germanish alpine village, very cute to visit. And they wanted to go, but we didn't have enough cars to let them borrow one of our cars to go up. So I said, well, my grandfather's out of town. Like, why don't we borrow his car? Like, I'll call him up and ask, because he always says, anything you need when I'm out of town. If you need a place to stay, just go. So I call him. I couldn't get a hold of him. He has terrible service where he's staying. And I'm like, I'm sure it's fine. So my mom and she's under the impression that this is all approved and taken care of. I'm like, yeah, he said yes, for sure. So we make a day of it. We go up to Talking Rock, and we have dinner at my favorite restaurant up there that he goes to every day. And it's about 20 minutes into the dinner when I realized I don't have the key to his house, because we needed his house key to get in to get the extra set of car keys to take the car. So it was about 20 minutes in, I realized I don't have the house key, and we are 60 miles away. And so I am thinking of ways. I'm like, how do I tell her that we just drove 60 miles and I don't even have the house key to get in? And not only that, but my stepdad couldn't even bring the house key to us because I had my car keys with me. So I had the wrong set of keys. He couldn't even bring the house keys to me. So we said, let's see if a neighbor has a key, or like, let's still go and see if there's any other way to get into this house. So we're going around back of the house, and we notice there's a window cracked open, like under the basement, like in that really creepy crawl area no one wants to go. And then we hear these dogs barking and like charging towards us and growling. And we're like, this is just one sign after another that we should not take this car. But I was like, we need to get in. We need to get these house keys, get the car, and go. And I'm sure he'll say yes when I can get a hold of him. I know for a fact he will. I'm the beneficiary of his life insurance, all right? He'll let me borrow his car. So I tried to get the window open, but it's been set in this place for like 100 million years. Like, this window was not going to open, even though it was already cracked. So I get my hands under the window, and I try to lift, and that's not working. So I turn around, and I put my back to the window, and I kind of try and lift with my hands behind my back up, because I just thought I'd have more force that way. And I did, and the window opened, but at the same time, my shoulder slams into the window frame, and I start screaming. I'm in excruciating pain. Neighbors start turning lights on in the houses, and I'm like, oh, we gotta go. So I just fall into the basement through this window. My shoulder's probably shattered, I'm sure, at this point. I go up, I get the car keys. We get the car, we start driving out, and then we're on the road about a mile away from his house driving home, and we see just a bunch of police cars, like, kind of, like, going past us very quickly. And I'm like, I'm sure that's not for us. Like, there's no way. But I wasn't going to stick around to find out. So we go, and eventually I get a hold of him the next day, and I'm like, hey, can we borrow your car? He's like, yeah, sure, go right ahead. You have the house key. I'm like, yeah, I can do it, no problem. We had already had the car for over 24 hours at that point.
But you had predicted right, though.
I did. I knew it was going to be fine. I knew it was going to be fine.
Outside the felony, no problem here. No foul at all.
I had my arm in a sling for like a week. I couldn't lift my arm because of how bad my shoulder was.
Ow. All right, coming up in a couple of minutes, we got a Ditch or Date coming up. She just found out the new dude used to date the boss's daughter. So, do you continue to date, or do you ditch him? Next on The Bert Show.
What the Bert Show has happening has never happened before.
Nor will it ever again.
The joy